So chapter 5 is out. Let's check out my speculation video and see what still holds up. Flowey reference. Check. Focus on Asgore's mental state. Check. Festival starting out the chapter. Check. The colored flowers being a colorful group of characters with a major focus. Check. Not learning anything more about Chris. Check. Ralsei having a little bit more agency and being more of his own person. Check. Cowboy character. Check. I was joking about friend inside me, Toby. Basically everything else was wrong. And I couldn't be happier about it. Chapter 5 is something that I could have never foreseen coming. I think that's what makes Deltarune so special. You can try to predict as much as you possibly can, but Toby Fox will always find a way to pull the rug out from under you, or take your theories and twist them in a way to fit the way Toby wants to write his story. And honestly, it's amazing. It always keeps me on my toes, and I never know what to expect, especially when I think I will understand where the story is going. So, what did Chapter 5 add to the overall context of Deltarune? Well, a lot more than you think. I've seen a decent sentiment by some people that Chapter 5 felt like a filler chapter. Out of all the things that I did predict in the last video, I predicted this right. This is a bridge chapter. This is one last fun romp before the storm that is the ending of the prophecy and the roaring bubbling to the surface. The only thing I'm going to predict is that Chapter 6 and 7 will be a lot. Like the ending of Chapter 4, but on steroids. But here we are in Chapter 5, a chapter that tells us a lot about Asgore and his mental process throughout the whole game, a chapter that shows us love coming to the girl and furthering the prophecy, a chapter of strange revelations like the shadow crystals being broken dreams and the UI being canon to the games, and a chapter with a weird root that is, gonna take a lot of explaining. The best place to start is the start. So let's go over what we learned chronologically. Chris, where were you? Why do you look dead? Like, super dead. How long did you go without the soul being in your body? Oh, your color came back, okay. The festival itself is a lot about Susie and Noella's characters. Chris gets dragged along on what is ostensibly their first date. There is a lot of, look at Susie and Noelle doing this, and look at them doing that. But there are a few juicy nuggets of information that we learn during this sequence. First, we don't even see Carol in the flesh again this chapter. According to Rudy, she is investigating the south of town, and the only thing that we know is the south of town is the shelter. Carol is doing something with the shelter, and we still don't know exactly what that is. Even if it was only breadcrumbs, it was something to show us that Carol knows more than she lets on. Next up, we have the events with Caddy. Caddy drops a decent bit of lore about her and Chris. When they tried to summon the demon when they were kids, Caddy turned tail and ran, leaving Chris alone to do the ritual. Now, this could mean nothing, or it could mean that the reason Chris has the soul is because of that one moment. It has come up now more than once, but that is just more juicy food for theorists. Also, the reason she hates Susie so much is that Caddy is crushing hard on Noelle, and it's very obvious. Sans gets an interesting development here too. He gets a card with 3 poorly drawn people on it so he doesn't forget. More Sans is from Deltarune connections, huh? Also, Toby giving us some doomed yaoi with the pizza pants and ice cream guy. Just let them be happy, Toby. Oh, poor ice cream guy. And at the lake, we get more glorious Yuri. God, these two are so cute together, and I can smell the tragic storytelling coming along from the bakery nicely, Toby. And why is that? Well, this scene ends with Noelle getting a call from her mother that Rudy has fallen down. And it can mean one of two things. Either he fell off his ladder and hurt himself really badly, or he has fallen down. In Undertale, for a monster to be fallen down, it means they basically have to have entered a coma right before death. So either Rudy is critically injured, or is in a coma and is about to die. It's not looking great for the guy. Again, the tragedy bread is baking in Toby Fox's bakery right now, and I can smell it. Rudy is not making it out of the story alive. He's had death flags from day one. Oh, and I was right. Fuck. And next up, we have the Dark World. And I want to show you my reaction to this and how much I was thrown through a loop here. They're coming this way. But what? Huh? What? Huh? Huh? Why is there an otome? Sorry to keep you waiting. What? What? How did you suddenly get over?
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Howdy. I was never in my life going to predict Flowery, and the walking antithesis to what Flowey was. A nice dude, bro, that always has Asgore's back, that wants the best for everyone, but stands in the way of our heroes. This character is all about friendship and doing what is right for his best friend and college roommate Asgore, a character introduced by a fully animated, in-anime style cutscene that took me out of the fucking game for a moment. And he ticked me off! He was almost too perfect. But we will get to my entire thoughts about him at the end. What I found interesting is that this chapter spends a lot of time calling back to Chapter 1. The first area is called the Garden of Hopes and Dreams, a callback to the Fields of Hopes and Dreams. Ralsei is forced back into his Chapter 1 sprite. The first enemies are derivatives of the Rudens. Even the dancing scissor enemies are back from Chapter 1. While there are some new puzzle elements here, there's a lot of callbacks to Chapter 1's puzzles as well. It feels like a look at how far we've come moment for me, especially once you hit the end of the area and are introduced not only to the first of the flowers, but the gimmick of this chapter. I feel light? Oh! Oh my gosh! Dude, this is sick! It's a 2D side-scroller! The side-scrolling platforming of this chapter is one, if not the, best mechanic that has been introduced to Deltarune. One of the things that I've always felt like is that a lot of the Dark Worlds feel like a really fun hallway. You go from the start to the end of the Dark World with very little deviancy in rooms. Chapter 3 broke that feeling with its board gimmick. Chapter 4 had the central hub in the library that broke the whole Dark World into 3 separate Dark Worlds. So the hallways felt more unique and varied, but they still felt like hallways to an extent. But Chapter 5 feels a little bit more like a Metroidvania in a sense, bringing both the action of a 2D platformer with the fun of bullet hell battles that the series is known for. And if this mechanic sticks around for the last 2 chapters like climbing did for Chapter 4, I am so excited to see how the Dark Worlds evolve. Throughout the chapter, you are met with and accosted by Asgore's 7 colored flowers. What is this bullet pattern? Each one a reference to a soul mode in Undertale. In order of appearance, we have Aqua, Seth, Green, Yellow, Orange, and Blue. Each one of them, sort of, corresponds with their color traits. Aqua has a lack of patience and is very childlike. Seth keeps trying despite constantly losing, always looking for another solution to their problem. Green is making food for everyone, never really actively fighting with you. Yellow is a cowboy, constantly spouting about justice, despite not fully understanding everything. Also probably has one of the funniest segments out of the whole chapter. Orange is constantly trying to be brave and imposing, despite their small stature. And Blue always has integrity and sticking to their moral code. All of them are trying their hardest to make Asgore's ideal world, almost acting like they're his children in the way they try to get his attention. And I think that says a lot about how Asgore's care shaped them for who they are. None of them are villains, they're all kind people trying to do what they think is right. They aren't like previous villains, they aren't controlling or tyrannical, and it kinda feels bad to fight them. But you have to, otherwise the roaring would come. And the person who the entire time is trying to stick within the lines is Ralsei. Wait, Ralsei, since when were you such a hater?
No, never mind. Let's just go.
The entire time he is more sassy, more emotional, more hater-coded. This was a very Ralsei-focused chapter. You can feel how he's trapped within the systems that he has to abide by. That, unlike Flowery, he can't just break the systems to work in his favor. He can't just make up stats. He can't just do whatever he wants, because he's the lone prince of the dark, and he has a track that he feels like he must follow. He's so upset and angry and jealous that he can't do what he wants. He's trying his hardest to make sure the prophecy doesn't come to pass in the way that it's written, even praying his heart out, wanting something to change. And along comes Flowery, doing what he wants, breaking the systems, doing things wrong. It upsets Ralsei, because Ralsei just wants to break free, to get out of the system that he's locked in, but it doesn't feel like he can. He has to be this timid prince from the dark, even though he holds so much power in his hands, more than he is showing. Speaking of showing, Asgore had an insane showcase this chapter.
Show them. Give them back all the pain they inflicted. And then, when I parade their body around town, everyone will finally realize how right I was. That I wasn't crazy. That they weren't conspiracies. That it wasn't my fault.
Asgore starts off the chapter with how he has shown up in almost every chapter. A kind yet a little bit absent father. He even spends the first bit of the Dark World in that character, but showing that he knows a little bit more than he lets on. But holy, the dying turn he does once you get to the castle, pushing Susie and Chris out, warning them not to come back in. And when you see him during the castle, he's an angry person, trying his best to work out his papers, going down the routes of a conspiracy, and at one point threatening to parade the body of the person who made the Dark Fountain around the town to show that he was right. This man is not okay. Asgore is so into proving that he was right and that he wasn't the one to blame. And it isn't until he sees Chris super damaged that he finally sees the error in his ways, that no one ever blamed him, that his obsession with finding the solution, with finding the person responsible, is what was causing him to fail to protect the people around him and push them away. That it was no fault but his own. He also realizes that through the flowers giving him all the attention he doesn't want, that he was wrong with giving Toriel all that unwanted attention, and that all he wants to see is Chris and Asriel together and the town safe. Then he gets kidnapped by the Knight, and now the Fun Gang is 1 for 2 with stopping kidnapping. And Flowery tries his best to save Asgore, and now I think we have everything we need to fully go over his character.
You're not the only person that can start a battle.
Try running away now.
Oh no, Flowery.
Flowery, like I said before, is the antithesis to Flowey. He is kind, caring, and honestly a good person. He is a golden boy. He cares about his friends, about Asgore, and about the heroes even. Flowery is trying in his own way to go against the prophecy. He tries several times to get the Fun Gang out of the Dark World, stating that the only thing the Fountain needs is a human, and how strong he is. He gives himself fake stats, acts like the hero and the best friend Asgore needs, only standing in our way when we won't back down. He also calls out the hypocrisy of allowing Castletown to stay up. If Dark Fountains are so bad, then why is Castletown still there? He's all about friendship, even doing the hero thing of using it against you when you fight with him. And he's only doing it because if he doesn't, his world will end. In that moment, it's end it or be ended. Or maybe you could say, kill or be killed. He teams up with the other 6 flowers and even becomes Omega Flowery using the power of friendship. He tries to de-escalate you in his fight, using mercy. And despite how infuriating he was at the beginning, I grew to really like him. Because unlike Flowey, he wasn't a wolf in sheep's clothing. He was just a good person, doing things he thought was right for him and his family. He also has one of the best fights and theme. Man gets lyrics. He is so hero-coded, he has his own theme song with lyrics. Think about that. And he ends up sacrificing himself to try and save the one who cares for him, but loses. And I think that even if he was in our way, he went out like a true hero. One more thing before we leave the Dark World. I want to touch on Pink. You fucking Pink! I have seen some people say that it feels out of place in the roster of hidden bosses, and right off the bat it does. Oh, we're fighting Mad Mew Mew again. But as you go on with the fight, something really interesting happens. Mad Mew Mew and Pink split apart, both being their own person, both needing each other to live and thrive, each having their own likes and dislikes. Huh. Why does that feel familiar? Oh yeah, Chris will die without the soul in their body, just like Pink would die without Mad. Every sacred boss has said something about our characters. Jebel introduced us to the Knight in the future Dark Worlds. Spamton gave us allusions to Chris being a puppet on the string, being controlled by not only us against their will, but showing that Chris is also being given orders by someone else. The Knight shows us how far our heroes have come, and the struggles that still lie ahead. Gerson gives Susie training and helps her understand more about herself. And Pink shows us that in order for Chris to live and thrive, they must work together with the soul instead of fighting against it, allowing both to come to a mutual understanding and coexist, showing us a path for Chris and the soul. But also, this fight is pretty good, except for the bombs attack. That one can go away. I hate that attack. But also, Hatsune Miku! Lastly, before we get into theory territory, let's go over the weird route. Oh, this is ominous as fuck. Oh, don't like that! This is an insane, no joke intended, things to happen. Noelle comments on the fact that she is an NPC, doing things like Noelle is supposed to do, and how she wants to break free of that. And now Chris, aka the player in this instance, gave them the strength to break the cycle, thus dragging you into the lake and breaking the bounds of Hometown, skipping into Chapter 7. So, the weird route is where most of the meta stuff is in Deltarune. Clearly, not only is it supposed to be creepypasta adjacent, but the two characters are literally breaking out of the map to do a major speedrun skip into Chapter 7. Not only is this the first time a major meta break has happened in the game, but it is also commenting on the nature of being an NPC, and the relationship the player has to breaking a game. And it makes sense that Noelle is the character out of all characters that would be the vehicle for this story. Noelle in the Spamton sweepstakes has had her noted in her blog that she has a tendency to break games, and find weird bugs and glitches in them. So her dragging us to the edge of the map after her mind breaking and going off the desired path makes sense. And even if you abort the path by failing to proceed enough, time resets. Noelle comments on that she wasn't strong enough, that a Noelle is just a Noelle, before dumping you right back into the normal route with some minor dialogue changes. And I'm just gonna say this here, I don't think this is as disturbing as Chapter 4's weird route. The weird route is just like a creepypasta. I did all this stuff and it ends with the characters drowning with a lake and breaking the confines of the game. It doesn't scare me. It doesn't even rattle me all that much. Don't get me wrong, this scene is great, but people were hyping it up like it's scarier than Chapter 4. And I think manipulating and forcing someone to do something against their will is so much more disturbing than being dragged to the bounds of a map. In Chapter 4, you are actively harming someone willingly, and in Chapter 5, the choice is still in your hands. You have the power to exit that situation. I don't find that as core-rocking, but I think that's just me. Everyone has different levels to these things and what disturbs them. But now that that is out of the way, let's do some minor theorizing on what might happen next.
Chris, this can't just be a me and you thing. It needs to be Noelle's thing, too.
We know next to nothing about Chapter 6 and 7, but I think the reason we didn't get a release date for Chapter 6 is because we're getting both Chapter 6 and 7 at the exact same time. With all that the last 5 chapters were setting up, and this one being the last fun adventure, I think it would be best to release the last act of this game in one go. But without Chapter 6, I can't guess about Chapter 7. But I do have some guesses as to what will happen with Chapter 6. With Noelle being let in on the secret of the Dark World, I believe she will try to open a Dark World to save Rudy. And we have been theorizing about this for a while now, but it makes sense. And there are two possible locations where this Dark World will end up taking place. First off is the hospital. If Rudy fell down, it would make sense that he would end up back in the hospital. This is also a chance to pull in a lot more people than just our gang and Rudy. A Dark World in the hospital would ramp up tension for sure. But another location that it could be is the Holiday House. If Rudy is really on his deathbed, they might have put him in a place where he can pass surrounded by loved ones. A Dark World in the Holiday House could give us a lot for the story. More about Des, Carol as a full antagonist boss fight, and maybe more about the holidays as a whole. But I think because of what happens with Noelle in the Weird Route and how she clips out of the game and skips to Chapter 7, that gives a lot of fuel to the fact that Noelle is making the next Dark World. Because if she is gone, no one can make the Chapter 6 Dark World. And honestly, besides Carol being the Chapter 6 boss fight, I have no idea what's going to happen next. The prophecy panels end with Chapter 5 hints. We could predict a decent chunk of this chapter with what we had. Granted, not all of it, but a decent chunk. But I feel like we know so little about Chapter 6 and 7. Will the roaring actually happen? I don't know. Will Carol actually be a boss? I don't know. When will we figure out who the knight is? I don't know! And it has me super excited. It feels like anything could happen. Chapter 7 could be navigating a world ravaged by the roaring and sealing all the dark fountains to bring light back to the world. Or it could be a romp through the sheltered Dark World and learning about the true origins of Dark Worlds. I just don't know. And honestly, I don't have the brain to guess at this moment in time. My brain's all Deltarune Chapter 5 this and Deltarune Chapter 5 that. But whatever happens going forward, I look forward to what the story will tell us from here. And boy, is it going to hurt. I can feel it in me bones. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers and it would mean so much to me if we hit that before the end of the summer. In other channel news, we have memberships open. At a Founders Pack of $1.99, you'll get a shout out at the end of each one of my videos. I don't know what you would want in a membership, so if you want to go ahead and tell me in the comments on what you would like to see. In other news, this will probably be my last Deltarune video for a while. With how little we know about Chapter 6 and 7, I don't feel comfortable theorizing further until we get any kind of more information. But until we get more information, expect all different kinds of content from me. If you haven't checked out my other content, go check out my Deltarune video about the Chapter 1 through 4's characters and themes. Or if you want more information about Final Fantasy XIV, for example, go ahead and check out my video about the themes of the expansions. But it's been real. See y'all next time. Alright, bye!